Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Vicki Townsend, and I am the founder of the Caffeine Tea. And I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Every Thursday, we do something called Divorce RX. And it is when we bring the divorce process experts in to help you through the actual process of divorce and all of the things that are caused, all of the areas that are touched on it. So it's not just legal issues because there's so many other bigger issues that are actually come into play. So we'll bring you on Thursdays not only attorneys, but we'll bring you accountants and CPAs to help you with those types of issues. We'll bring you financial advisors to help you on that topic. We'll bring you somebody that talks about how to sell your real estate and your assets if you need to do that, or even how you can keep it. And one of the other important parts of this equation is our children. And today I have an amazing expert that is not only just a divorce coach or a life coach, she's really a family coach, and her name is Karen Becker. She has spent years working with individuals and couples one-on-one and in groups. She has helped many parents find the humor and happiness as they navigate the unpredictable job that is parenting and co-parenting. Her practices include helping clients rebuild their lives after divorce, and she has authored several books, including Co-Parenting When Your Ex Won't and Mindset. And we're going to be talking about how you can reach her. You can reach her through her website, KarenBeckerLifeCoach.com. She has a Facebook page, Instagram, and Twitter. And I brought Karen on because I did a question of the day. And it was, does your ex co-parent, or is it my way or the highway? And I actually got a lot of the my ways and their highways, but I actually got a lot of things from people saying that their ex doesn't co-parent at all. So I'm here, and I'm happy that Karen is with us because I want to help people through that process. So first I want to welcome Karen. Hi, Karen.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, we are thrilled to have you here, and this topic is it's personal to me too, because I feel like as the mom, and I know that this goes both ways. This is not just a gender issue, but in my case, I had an ex-husband, and the co-parenting was not non-existent, but it was close to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I tried and I did the best that I could, and I wish I had somebody to help me through those sticky waters. So, Karen, I know that you have a PowerPoint presentation, and just so that our listeners will know, in our membership area on our private Facebook page, we're going to put your slides up there so that everybody can take a look at it and refer back to it. And of course, this recording will be available to them as well. But what does the ideal co-parenting situation look like, Karen?
Yep, absolutely. And I'm going to actually share this and talk about it, but I will say this. The ideal co-parenting situation is give and take. And it would be great if somebody were to say, you know what, I think that I'm the better parent. And in my case, like you said, Vicki, I'm divorced as well. I have 3 children from my first marriage, and got remarried and have an amazing stepdaughter. So, my husband's lot in life is to be surrounded by beautiful women. And it's easy to say, listen, I'm a mom, and I'm a mom of daughters. I know what I'm doing, and it would be great if my ex would listen, but that's just not always the case. Can you see my PowerPoint?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
perfect.
Can. So with saying that co-parenting is really give and take, I always start out any co-parenting conversations that I have with this slide. And it really is the top 5 factors in a child's adjustment to divorce. When people go into divorce, they say, what about the kids? I don't want my kids to be from a broken home. And Dr. Phil has this amazing line that says, kids would rather be from a broken home than live in one. And I completely believe that. But research today is actually backing that up in saying that children who grow up in two-parent homes can grow up just as happy, healthy, and successful as children who grow up in a home where the parents are married, if the relationship between both their parents is available to them, if they have access to those parents, it's as if the divorce never happened. So co-parenting is the #1 way to ensure that your child will thrive post-divorce. The other factors are age, gender, and temperament, which we don't have any control over, but we can do something about co-parenting in a lot of cases.
When you say age, gender, I'm sorry, Karen, but when you say the age, gender, and temperament, are you talking about the age, gender, and temperament of the child or the parent?
Of the child. At divorce, if the child is under 5, they have a harder time redeveloping the normal in their life. Statistically speaking, boys will handle divorce harder than girls. And then temperament of a child. You all as parents know your children. So if you have a child that has a hard time with change overall, obviously divorce is going to be difficult for them. But with all 3 of those, if you are able to work towards co-parenting with your ex, your child will be better equipped to create their new normal. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. And stop me if I go too fast or if you have questions too. So I always start with why co-parenting matters, and it really is because children can thrive post-divorce if the parents can work towards co-parenting. And to your original question, Vicki, it really is just give and take. And that's what co-parenting is. It's not, I'm always right. It's not he's always right or she's always right. It's give and take, the same as there would be if you were still married. So what happens is when there is a lack of co-parenting, a lot of times it's due to the feelings of the co-parent. Obvious statement, but it's hard for the co-parents who are dealing with negative co-parent to understand that their feelings have something to do with it too. So if you've all heard, divorce is a lot like dealing with death in the family. You handle it in the exact same way and you go through the exact same stages of grief. So I put those stages of grief here. They shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, but it's a little bit different when it's a divorce. So you deal with shock and denial, which looks a little bit like this isn't happening. You deal with the guilt. What did I do to make this happen? Could I have changed this in any way? Anger does not need any explanation at all. It's very anger. Right. There's bargaining and depression. So if I change something, it'll change the situation. There's a lot of people who were not ready to be divorced, and they're upset with their ex for putting them in a situation where they are a single parent. And for these people, the bargaining and depression, along with the anger, can absolutely cause negative co-parenting. And then there's hope. And it's not hope that you get back together with your ex. It's just hope for your future, that you have control over your future. And then acceptance is, listen, I understand this is reality. It's not what any of us planned, but it is where I am. So I'm going to accept that and I'm moving forward. So on this slide, I put this really great quote. Anger and bitterness ties you and your ex together. And for a lot of people, whether they asked for the divorce or not, they are saying, I want nothing to do with my ex. I get that we have to parent our children, but outside of that, I want nothing to do with him or her. So if I told you that anger and bitterness were tying you to your ex, would you want that? And yeah. I usually get a couple of ahas at that point when I do this live. So with that said, what if I told you that you had the power to change your relationship with your co-parent? If you made changes to the way you interact, to your thinking, it could absolutely change your co-parenting relationship even if your ex is the difficult one. So for people who have been through divorce, in my co-parenting classes, about 85 to 90% of the participants have been in therapy outside of it. So they have seen this triangle. And it really is just thoughts create your emotions create your feelings, which create your outward actions, and that's what people see. You have a thought based on what people see. It creates an emotion in you. That emotion in you creates the feeling. That creates the outward interaction. And if you can change your mind, if you can change your thought process, your mindset, you can change this entire triangle. You can change the way that people view you. You can change the co-parenting relationship. So does that make sense? If you can change your thought process, you're able to start the change towards co-parenting?
Clearly, when you change your thoughts, your life changes completely. I'm a big, huge believer, and also, one of the things that I say, and I'm going to say it in this one just because I feel like I can't have a webinar without saying it, which is, what you focus on grows more abundantly in your life. That's either negative or positive. So it might as well be positive because that's the way your life is going to go.
Absolutely.
The direction your thoughts are.
Absolutely. And Vicki, I've been watching your posts and have shared a couple of them too. And the one that you have where, for every 60 seconds you're angry, you lose 60 seconds of peace. And yes, your anger is a feeling, it's an emotion. But if you can change your thought, you lose that anger. Because the anger, it comes from a thought in your head. So, in the mindset workbook that I have and with any coach or therapist you work with, you're going to dig to what's the thought that's creating my anger. And if you can identify what that is, you remove that anger. It's gone. So you have the power. So with that said, we sort of take inventory. Where are you now? For many people, if you're new to divorce, if you're new to co-parenting, or even if you're not and you're just struggling, you sort of feel like you're drowning. You're in a pool and you're just barely keeping your head up. And I always take my clients through, well, let's talk about what's working. You have your kids, even if you're not seeing them every day, even if you have them 50% of the time, you have them 50% of the time. You have a place to live, a roof over your head. You've got food you're putting in your bellies. You have health and sanity to a certain point. And then sense of humor. It's there. You might have to dig for it, but it's there. And those are all really great places to start. So to the point of changing your mindset, I always list these positive affirmations on the right side, and I'm a huge believer in affirmations. With all my clients in groups or one-on-one, I have them put it in their phones, set reminders twice a day at 11 a.m. and at 4 p.m. and just type in there, I am letting positivity into my life. And the first time that goes off, it will catch you by surprise, but it will be such a happy surprise. Change your how many times do you type a password in a computer? Change it to a positive affirmation and start changing your mindset.
That's a great idea.
I can't even tell you. I type my password 82 times a day, and if I'm typing, I am making room for amazing changes. You start to feel that.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. I love that. Thank you for that suggestion. I'm writing that one down too.
Perfect. So these are just starts. Go to Pinterest. Vicki, you have affirmations you share all the time. So pick an affirmation and go with it and change, grow. Have your affirmations grow as you grow, because you can't change your ex, but you can change you, and you have the power to do that, and you become this positive influence when you do. And what I usually hear when I do this live is people say, that's great, but I'm just too angry, or you don't get who my ex is. And what I always say is, first of all, anger is a sign that something needs to change. You can't change your ex, but you can change you. Second, in co-parenting situations, Your children are watching how you are handling this. They are watching how you handle extreme life changes, extreme stress, and difficult people. So what do you want to show them in a way that you handle anger? And third, anger gets a bad rap. Listen, we cannot get rid of anger altogether. Anger is there because it's that sign that something needs to change. That's why we're feeling it. So what we're angry about, we need to ask ourselves, do I have the ability to change what I'm angry about? If the answer is no, then what you need to do is change your thinking about that situation. You always have the power to change your thinking about it. So anger is bad too because it really, literally, for me, it makes me sick. I will feel sick to my stomach when I am very angry. It leads to a loss of reason, which I know we've all felt. It does take the focus off of your children, which none of us as parents have as a goal, and it puts it back onto your co-parent. It keeps the negativity in your life and keeps the positivity out of it, which none of us want. We've had enough of that, right?
Right.
And then it sets this example of holding on to the bad feelings. And, you know, our children, despite us doing our best to shield them from it, just as we can look at our children and know when they're getting sick, know when they're upset, know when they're angry, they can do the same with us. So I always tell parents, it's not a bad thing for your children to see you angry. It's a bad thing for your children to see you angry and not manage it.
Mm. Yes, because we have to
So
teach them how to deal with it as well.
absolutely. And children learn more by what we do than what we say.
Right.
So we can take that anger and we can use it for good. I always tell people, take the energy. When I am angry, oh my goodness, I will clean the house better than any cleaning company could ever imagine because you have so much energy, right? You just, you know, my fists clench and my shoulders are tense and I can feel it everywhere in my body. And there is an energy that comes with it. But what if we put it towards something positive for the kids? What if we said, oh my goodness, you've been dying to go to that water park, or oh, you want to go for a walk? Let's use the energy that comes with it and do something positive.
I will just say that it will never be cleaning my house. Just saying.
You know, what works for one doesn't work for somebody else. I put my top 6, and oh my goodness, I have given this presentation probably 8 times, and I have yet to change this. My top 6 ways of getting it out. Journaling, I will always tell you to journal. I am famous for writing an email that you never send. I always tell co-parents, you can say what's on your mind to your co-parent, they just can't know about it. So write the email, say what you want to say to them, but
I
don't
did
send it.
the thing.
Have you done this?
I have journaled. Here's what I did. I journaled everything that I wanted to. You know how, have you ever had one of those conversations, Karen, when you're talking to a girlfriend and you just, when you get it out, you feel better, right?
Yes.
You just like vomit all of this stuff. But
Yep.
so there was a lot of things that had happened in my divorce and in my marriage and all those things that I didn't want to share publicly because it just was humiliating and embarrassing and all of those other things. So I journaled it just as though I was talking to a girlfriend or, you know, a confidant, and I burned it on New Year's Eve.
Really?
And I said, enough, I'm done. I let it go. Best thing I did.
That is such a cathartic, therapeutic way of handling it. Get it out and then get rid of it. There are coaches and therapists that will have their clients write down keywords on rocks. And if you live in an area where you can go hiking, take those rocks with you. Feel the weight of them as you go to the top of a hill or the top of a small mountain, and then throw them off and feel the weight on your way down. It is just, that's brilliant.
That is
Brilliant.
fun.
So talking to a friend, like you said, exercising is always a way, although that will never be I will clean before I'll exercise. If you see me running, someone's chasing me, you should run too. And then it should be EFT tapping. It's not so new anymore, but more and more people are talking about it. YouTube it. It is brilliant. You look funny doing it, but if you spend 7 minutes doing these tapping exercises along with the affirmations they give you, it, it forces you to feel emotions you didn't know you had. Meditations and hobbies are other ways too. So it's okay for you to be angry, but imagine the difference between your children seeing you hold on to that anger and your children seeing you manage that anger using something like these or any other ideas you guys have.
I like that you have on the bottom. Do you want to be the better one or the bitter one?
Oh, I love that quote. I love that quote. Because if you are angry, what does that turn into? It turns into bitterness.
Right.
So the other huge emotion that I deal with co-parents is this need for validation. So we go through this divorce, and it's impossible to go through the divorce without going through the court system. And our court system is flawed in that it will pit one parent against each other if you're doing um, a collaborative divorce, right? Because, he gets the car and you get the furniture. She gets the kids most of the time, but he gets the summers. It's not a competition necessarily unless you're in these custody battles, and most of the people that I work with are the high conflict cases where they are in the custody battles. And what happens is both of these parents are looking for validation from the courts as well as from the ex that they are the better parent. And what I always have to say is, I play devil's advocate a little bit, and I say, well, what if you're both the better parent? What if all of the things that you are teaching the kids are things they need to know, but what if the things your ex is teaching the kids are things they need to know? So I always say safety first, right? If there's any thoughts of there being abuse or neglect or anything like that, this completely goes out the window. But if there's not, and it's just very different parenting styles, what if those were things your kids needed to know? And what if you became your own validator? What if you were the one to say, you know what, I am confident in my skills as a parent, and I don't need anyone else to tell me that I am a great parent because I know I am. So we usually go through this exercise live in my courses where I have each of the parents write down what they would want their ex to validate and what they'd want their kids to validate. And then I turn it around and I make them write it as a statement. Now you write that as an affirmation. Instead of looking for it from your kids, instead of looking for it from your ex, you become your own validator. And that would be something that I would challenge everybody with. If you feel like your anger comes from the place of, I just wish they'd understand, I really am a great parent, what if you became the great parent and you told yourself you were the great parent?
That's a great one. I'm taking so many notes. I'm on page 2 already. Um, I love this. Write what you would want your ex to validate about your parenting skills and what you would like your kids to validate about your parenting skills. And then tell yourself that every day.
There's your affirmation. If you're making
Awesome.
affirmations passwords or putting them on, we all have these smartphones now, create these reminders, put those as your affirmations. Validate yourself every day.
Yeah, these are great ones. Go, keep going. This is awesome.
So what happens, the number one thing that I wish all co-parents could do is accept the situation for what it is. Nobody goes into marriage with the thought of getting a divorce, and you certainly don't go into having kids with the thought of being a single parent, right? All of us we went into this as partners with our exes for the most part. So once you get to that point of accepting, listen, I get it. This is where I am. It's not where I plan to be, but it's where I am. Then it's down to forgiveness. Whether you are at the point where you're able to forgive your ex or not, I can't make you do that. I also want to say, forgiving yourself, if you are at that stage where you are still in that bargaining stage, if I change something, maybe I could have done this, or in that guilt, what did I do to cause this? It is what it is. Forgive yourself for it. So I never do talks on forgiving your ex or forgiving yourself, but what I do is I go through the myths of forgiveness. It absolutely does not let the other person off the hook. It doesn't mean you forget what happened. It simply takes the power away from the situation and puts it back in your hands. It does not mean that what happened was okay, and especially those of us who have been through abuse in our marriages and in our divorce, none of that was okay. It doesn't mean you weren't hurt. It does not require you to have a relationship with your ex, and it certainly does not make you superior in any way. Forgiving your ex does not mean you get an apology, and it does not make all the bad feelings go away. Again, it's simply just putting the power back in your hands and taking it away from the situation. So those are my myths on forgiveness, and you have to be ready to forgive yourself and to forgive your ex and accept what it is. And once you do, you will start to see a transformation in the co-parenting and in your parenting. So there are going to be negative feelings throughout the co-parenting relationship. And at the beginning, we said it's give and take. And with that give and take comes the anger and the frustration and the resentment. It's going to happen in every co-parenting situation. So I don't want anyone thinking that fixing a co-parenting relationship means these go away. They still come up, but you need to manage them when they happen. There's my child's 5th grade teacher used to, in front of the class, so she had a really great class, she used to say, smell the roses, blow out the candle, and just do deep breathing. If you are working with your ex and you are talking one-on-one, there is no reason you can't say, listen, I feel like we're not going to get anywhere right now. Why don't we talk later, or I'll shoot you an email. Take deep breaths and get yourself in a place where you can handle whatever comes up. Because you can't change your ex, but you can change how you respond to them. And then, like we said, get it out, journal. My favorite exercise to do is grab a piece of paper. I don't care if it's the back of a grocery list or, an old magazine. Just start writing. You don't think about punctuation, grammar. You don't think about spelling. You just start writing and you get it out and you throw it away. So it's all about facing the feelings when they happen. And then once you do that, rather than reacting to your ex, you end up responding to your ex. And that starts to elicit the change in a co-parenting situation. What happens in a lot of negative ones is there's an angry interaction. And a lot of times it's the ex coming at them saying, I can't believe you did this. Who do you think you are? Or I have every right to know what's going on. And it just, whatever your ex says that creates that anger in you, if you are currently reacting and you're sending back an angry thought or statement, it's just going to keep the angry interactions going. But if you're able to then manage your anger and respond in a thought-based way, you lessen the amount of times there's that angry interaction. So I always say the toxic person, the ex, they're like those bullies in grade school, right? And they thrive on seeing emotional reactions out of people. That's what adds the fuel to their fire. So if you're giving that to them, they will continue to do it in order to see you get angry over and over and over again. So I always ask, what do you really want to show them? What do you want to show that toxic ex? So with that said, with every conversation we go into, we have these scripts in our head. Whether it is your children, your boss, your ex, your kids' teachers, You go into every conversation and you have an idea of how that conversation is going to go. So this one is really specific to some examples that I've done. So I'm going to take you to the next slide. And when we do these scripts, I always take co-parents through practicing this at first. If you have a real life situation where you need your ex's involvement in something, or you need to change a placement schedule, or you need something from your ex, write it out. How do you think it's going to go? Write what you think is going to happen, how you think they're going to respond, how you normally would respond, and then rewrite the script. Nobody knows your ex better than you do. So you sort of have a little bit of power in knowing what it takes to get somewhere with them. And I always caution people too is in a lot of co-parenting situations, people believe that it's sort of like you said at the beginning, my way or the highway. And the reason we want people to act a certain way is because of how we think we'll feel when they do. And that usually comes back to validation. If I can get my ex to change the bedtime to 8:30 p.m. for our 5-year-old, then it will show that I am the better parent because I was the one that came up with that first. Or if I can get my ex to stop putting our child in baseball and put them in football because I know that he really likes football better, it will show that I am the one who's closer to our son. So if that makes sense to anyone, what I would say is go back to our slide on validation. Become your own validator, and then look at the situation with a new set of eyes and ask yourself a couple of questions. Does it really matter if their bedtime is 8:45 versus 8:30? Does it really matter if your son is in baseball versus football? And then rewrite the script. So does that make sense?
No, absolutely. Absolutely, for sure.
Okay. So then a few of the communication techniques that I always teach too, I statements and you statements. And for anyone who's been in any type of therapy, you know these. An I statement is I feel, when, and I would like. And those come across a lot better than you. So what happens in arguments is, the ex will say, I really need to change my pickup time because my work schedule changed. And their co-parent comes back and says, you've never been consistent. You have always changed the schedule. That's not what your kids need. That comes across a little different than, I feel that the schedule has changed a lot, and I would like to talk about a long-term way to create a consistent schedule. So again, you can't change your ex, but you can change the way you respond, and the way you respond can elicit some change in the way your ex co-parents. And then a you statement is reflecting back what they say without sounding condescending. So you feel, when, and you would like. And then I just have the 5 questions, for people who are able to talk in writing versus face-to-face. Ask yourself, how would I feel if someone said this to me? What do I want my words to accomplish? And if you want your words to accomplish validation for yourself, or you want your words to accomplish anger in your ex, rewrite them, because it isn't going to go anywhere in the co-parenting relationship. What response would I like to hear? Are my expectations reasonable? And are my responses hurtful or helpful? You will get attacked by your ex because they are negative, right? That's why we're all listening to this. Keep detailed records. I always, always, always say document, 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 even if you're in the best co-parenting relationship, because it could turn at any moment. Grit your teeth and kill with kindness. Get it out behind the scenes. My don'ts are don't call the jerk a jerk. Don't react. Always respond. The reaction is emotions-based and the responses are thought-based. And then don't be a jerk because he or she is a jerk. I cannot tell you how many times in my practice I heard, well, that's how she's acting, so that's how I'm going to act. Or that's how he's been, so I'm going to do it too. So my line at the bottom, don't engage, don't engage, don't engage, is if you take anything away from this, don't engage.
I love that. I'm actually writing down that. Don't engage, again, as you said that.
It's easier said than done, but that's why we talked about those feelings and those ways to get it out at the beginning, because so much of this can change if you're able to manage your feelings. So like we said, conflict is going to happen. And the top 6 ways to handle it is to tackle the problem, not the people who brought you the problem. Yeah, it's your ex, and your ex is difficult, but there's a problem to be handled. So forget that your ex is an ex and focus on the problem. Remember, excuse me, listening and acknowledging what your co-parent is saying is not the same as obeying or losing. So many co-parents believe if I listen to what my ex has to say, if I reflect what they say with those you statements, it means I'm obeying them and I refuse to obey them. Not the case. It is so not the case. The I statements are also known as power statements because it does put you back in control of the conversation. I always say give the benefit of the doubt because kids, whether you're married or not, naturally pit parents against each other. So you will usually only get part of the story when you get the stories. Number 5, I love this question too. Would I rather be happy or right? And my little cloud on the right sort of goes into more detail. Giving in on these little issues isn't really giving in. It's just being smart enough to avoid more confrontation. And isn't that what we all want? We want the confrontation to end.
Oh, that's so true.
It is so true. So, again, does it matter if bedtime is 8:45 at the ex's house, whereas it's 8:30 at your house? In the grand scheme of things, bedtimes are going to change every 6 months for the next 12 years. So, giving in on those little issues or not even bringing up those little issues can sometimes save so much heartache. And then the last one, be easy to talk to. If your number one complaint about your ex is that they don't come to you with issues or questions or whatever they need, ask yourself in an honest way, do I make it easy for my ex to come to me with those? So for a lot of the parents I work with, that is not the case. And that the negotiation steps and the business models, everybody in a co-parenting situation has likely heard that applying a business model to your relationship can help immensely. And I agree. And that business model has a dedication to a common goal, which is raising happy, healthy, successful children. It's a commitment to a win-win relationship because when your children are happy, healthy, and successful, you both have won. In a business model, differences are negotiated, which are those negotiation steps on the left. Communication is based in facts, not feelings. That's that response versus react. And the relationship is limited. The number one issue with co-parents where they are talking is that the relationship is not just a co-parenting one. The ex-husband is still mowing the lawn for the ex-wife, or the ex-wife is still doing the budget for the ex-husband. Your relationship needs to strictly be parenting, and that's it. You cannot be co-signers on each other's loans unless it's in your marital settlement agreement. You cannot be going to each other's house to just hang out because it will only create more issues. And then the negotiation steps are just as listed. Name the problem, give and reflect opinions, brainstorm solutions, choose a solution, and that may not be your solution, it may be your ex's. Review it and take action, and as needed, reevaluate. I have an interesting fact, and this one I think will stick with you. When we feel attacked, whether the person means to attack us or not, we will either defend ourselves, we'll counterattack, or we will withdraw. Your ex and literally everybody else on the planet will respond in one of those 3 ways. So when you are going through these negotiation steps, when you're going through any communication with them, and what your ex hears is an attack, even if that's not what you mean, they will either go on the defense, they will counterattack, or withdraw. And that's where, if we are confident in ourselves, if we are able to look at the situation and say, I guess if he would have said that to me, I would have felt attacked. we're able to take it as a more mature conversation. Do you know what I mean? We're able to say, okay, I get where you're coming from in that defensive remark. I get where you're coming from in that counterattack. Not what I meant. Just want to handle this situation. How different would that be then if you got a defensive comment, if you got a counterattack because your ex felt attacked and you responded in the same way? You defended yourself. You counterattacked. It's just a never-ending cycle. Okay, so I think this is the last two that I have. Do I have enough time?
Yeah, it's good that we're wrapping up. We've gone a little long, but I think that this is an amazing conversation. And you know that this is important stuff. So go ahead and we'll wrap this up, and then we'll run real quickly over to our private membership page. And what we're going to do is we're going to put up a link so that if you're not a member, we're going to give you an opportunity to click on that link and join us really quickly so that we can ask you some private questions over in our very private Facebook group that's not available to anybody that's just out there on the internet. So if we can have that link going up and you finish up with this slide, we will head right over there.
Excellent. The only thing, the last two I have, de-escalation. When you are face-to-face, you can de-escalate the situation. Rule of fives. That's just applying your senses. You can apply them in any way. Just apply every one of your 5 senses. It will immediately de-escalate. And then rule of tens. Will this matter in 10 days, 10 months, 10 years? Those are my favorite questions ever. And then if you are dealing with somebody who is a yeller, if you talk slower and lower your voice, they will automatically respond in like, whether they like it or not, because they will reflect what you are doing, even if they are not conscious of doing that. And then the listening skills, these are out everywhere. Like I said earlier, listening to your ex is not obeying your ex. Acknowledging is not obeying. It's just plain listening, and it's something we all want. And I know as co-parents, we feel we're not listened to. Your ex likely feels the same way. So if you can give that to them, it will change things. These are just the listening rules, and they are not news to anybody. Just eliminate distractions and just be there, be present when you're listening to them.
Great, that's awesome.
That's really what I have. Sorry I went over there.
Oh, no. Because you know what? I don't know that there is a lot of things that are more important than being able to parent healthy children and to raise healthy children in our families. That's our obligation, right?
Right.
So this is an important conversation. We are now going to invite everybody to go over to our private Facebook page. We've got about 15, 20 minutes. You're going to be there. And Karen, would you be there? Will you peruse our Facebook private group if somebody ever has any other questions to ask you? And we're also going to go there and put up your contact information. We're going to put up the slides to this presentation if anybody needs them over in our membership area. And so let's go over there now and have a conversation. And again, if you're watching this in a recorded manner and it's not live for you, just go to our private Facebook group after you've joined our Cafe D membership group on the link that we've provided. And just type in Karen's name and she will get your question. She'll come back over and ask it. So we will see you now over on our private Facebook group. We look forward to talking to you, and we will see you all next week on Tuesdays and De-Escalation. So we look forward to seeing you there, and bye-bye for now. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you so much.
Bye now. See you there.